Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. The translation reads like this. Hello, Brother Nanshi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? So this is how I became a witch. At that time, I was still very young, and this is how it all started. I still remember this, brother, because my mom had sent me one evening to go and ask for some meal right next door because life was really hard at that time. When I went there, the sun had not yet gone down, but that woman, our neighbor, she said that I was supposed to return back home, and soon after the sun had gone down, that was when I was supposed to return back, and she was going to give me as much meal as I wanted. But when I was going out of her yard, she then called me back. And she said, here, take some sweets. Please do not tell your mom everything that I have told you. And I said, it is fine. I was happy that she had given me the sweets. So, Brother Nashi, I then returned back home. I was thinking about what she had told me, and I wanted to tell my mom that she should stop sending me to this woman, because this woman, like, she seemed as if she did not like giving us anything or to help us when we are in trouble, but yet when they need something, we always help them. But my brother, when I got out of her yard, that was when I forgot about everything that I wanted to tell my mom, and then I just remained quiet. I waited. My mom then asked me where was the meal that she had sent me to get, and I told my mom that she was not there, our neighbor was not there, and I was supposed to return back. So later on, that was when I returned, because I kept on watching the sun as it was going down. And after the sun had gone down, that was when I went straight to that woman's house. She then gave me some meal, and she gave me more sweets on top of that. And she said that I want you to eat these sweets. And when I was going back home, I opened the sweets and I started eating them, because I did not want my mom to see me with all of these sweets. Otherwise, she was going to beat me up, thinking that I had stolen her money. And when I returned back home, after we had eaten, then I went to bed. When I went to bed, I could not fall asleep until I saw this other woman. This woman, she was just standing there in my bedroom. At that time, I wanted to scream, because this woman just appeared out of nowhere, because my spare bedroom door, it was locked. That was when I panicked. Then this woman told me that I was supposed to follow her. So I followed her. Even the way that I got out of bed, it was like someone who was more like a zombie, as if I was possessed by a demon. Then I started following her. I followed her, and when we went outside, I saw that there were a lot of women that were waiting for us. These women, they were not wearing anything. So then they started celebrating, like in the Pentecostal churches, the way that they celebrate if someone new comes to church and give their life to Christ. That is how those women started celebrating. And then I was given a long stick, and I was told that I was supposed to hold this stick. So it was not only me, but there were some other young women that were with me that had been woken up by some of their neighbors that were witches. So we were made to walk in front, but in front of us there was a hyena that we had been told to follow. So we followed the hyena, and the naked women, they were behind us until we arrived at this other house. When we arrived at that house, those women, they were like, can you smell our animal? For our animal, it is about to die. Do you smell the blood of a dying animal? Then they started sniffing around, sniffing in the air, like what a lion does when he is looking for his prey, the way that a wild animal will be sniffing the air. That is what they were doing. They were sniffing in the air, and they got so excited. Then they started laughing. Funny enough, when these people started laughing, like the way that they were laughing, like it was like a deep rumble. They were laughing really low. They were getting so excited. So then they sent these other little two short boys that appeared out of nowhere, and I saw that these were like not normal human beings, but they were tokoloshis. Then they said, go in there, check if our animal is now ready for the kill. Those two little tokoloshis, they walked, and then they crept into the house. Mind you, We were like standing about 3 meters from the house, but they were getting lost as if this was like a maze. So it seems as if the relatives had gathered, who had gathered there, they had called a traditional healer who had done some things that were stopping those tokoloshis from getting indoors. And then when they came back, we were told that we had to walk in a straight line, like where the other one, the one who will be walking in front of you, where they would have stepped their foot on, that is where you were supposed to step your own feet. Otherwise, we were told that we were going to die. So we followed everything that we were being told. And when we got into the yard, all of a sudden we were inside. That was when I realized that when they were saying our animal is now ready for the kill, they just meant that the man who was inside, who was sick, it was now time for him to die. That man, Brother Naishi, the most painful thing. And I think that when people are listening to my confession, they should not judge me only, but I hope that they are going to benefit from my own confession. People need to know that when you are caring for your sick relative, you need to make them, like when you are making them to lie down, do not make them to lie down like facing upwards. It is very important for you to make them to lie down whilst they are facing to the side, and regularly check up on them, changing their positions, because I realized that us as witches, we have the power to do whatever that we want with you when you are lying facing up, the way that you will be lying when you are in your coffin. So with time, this is what I have learned, and I hope that people are not going to listen to my confession just for the fun of it, but they are going to learn that when you are taking care of someone that is really sick, that you think is about to die, you need to make sure that when you are making them to lie down, always try to have them lying in a position that they'll be facing to the side. This man, Brother Nash, he was so sick, but the moment that we got into that room, he felt our presence and he woke up, he saw us. So his relative just thought that he was in pain because he kept on groaning in pain. He wanted to tell his relatives that there were some witches that were there. Like if you are being bewitched when you are about to die, you can see the people that would have bewitched you. So Brother Nashi, at that time, this man, he kept on groaning in pain. That was when those short boys went and strangled him. So it is very important for these Togoloshes to strangle you, to suffocate you. But then there is this other position where they leave you, where you are not yet dead. That is where they left this man. The man suffered to the family. The family thought that this man had passed on, but no, he was still alive. And then when I woke up the next day, to my surprise, the sun had already gone up and my mother was shouting at me. That was like the first time ever waking up like really late. She shouted at me and said, "Wake up, you lazy girl." I woke up somewhere around past 8 and I was tired. I was so tired, like I had never been so tired like that in my entire life. The following day, that same evening again, there was a funeral at that man's house. We went there, Brother Nashi. We went to that funeral, but not physically. Some of the women that were witches that were with us, they were there, funny enough, physically, but their spirits had left their bodies. So we were just standing outside of the yard watching everything that the relatives were doing. And on the day that the coffin came, we also went there after the sun had gone down, and those witches, they celebrated. Then they said that the meat is here. It is here for us to eat. We are going to feast and we are going to enjoy. Some of them, they started sleeping with each other. It didn't even matter if it was woman to woman or a man to woman. So the next day, the man, he got buried. And after the evening had arrived, then I woke up and I found myself, I was also at that grave with the same woman. And then that was when I realized that this was the reason as to why they had chosen me, because we had been given those sticks, those very long sticks. So I was then told to go and stand on the other side of the grave. And then this other young woman was told to stand on the other side of the grave. And then we were told, like, to synchronize and to hit the grave 3 times at the same time. The first time, the second time, and the third time. Then I saw that the soil on top of the grave, it then started falling back into the grave, and out of the grave they came that sick man that had died. Then one of the witches walked towards the man. So this man that came out of his grave, I don't know, he was like a zombie, but he was still alive. He just knelt down. He was indeed like an animal that was about to get slaughtered. He knelt down, and the other woman went and placed this other very sharp knife on his neck, and she then sliced that man, and then there was blood that was coming out. Brother Nashi, there were some hideous creatures that started appearing and started drinking the blood of that man. The man did not even cry or do anything. When the blood was coming out, then the man collapsed, and I heard these witches saying that he is now dead, he is now dead. Then they started celebrating. Then there were some reed baskets that were brought, and then they started cutting the meat, and they finished cutting the meat and placing them into the reed baskets. And when I woke up the next day, I had woken late again, and my mother was angry, and she even thought that maybe I was pregnant. Each and every night I would be waking up, and when I would wake up, I would find myself in a different place bewitching other people. So this is how I became a witch, Brother Nashi. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our dear sister. There was this other confession of this other woman who was saying that she is a witch. That confession, I wanted to run when I was reading that confession because I felt so scared. Strange things do happen in this world.